Hello everyone, welcome to the Trend Invest channel. In this video, we're going to look at 4 stocks for swing trading. And all these 4 stocks have really good risk reward setups and the stop losses are below 10%. So stay until the end of this video, and if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also don't forget to like this video. But before that, as always, we're going to start off with the Nifty outlook. So we look at why or where Nifty is currently, and then we'll see if there is potential for Nifty to head higher or not, and then we'll move on to the 4 stocks video for today. Okay, so yeah, let's jump into the Nifty outlook for first. And as always, I'm going to start off with the weekly charts. I'm going to show you what is Nifty doing on the weekly charts. Okay, so if you look at this weekly chart here, Nifty actually has been having pretty strong, very good strong green candles, and for me that is a very bullish sign. And definitely Nifty has made a very, in fact, a medium-term bottom probably here. And yeah, for now, even if you look at the monthly charts, I kept stressing on this demand wicks here, and finally we managed to go all the way up, right? So for us, this coming week is very important, and the reason is I'm going to show you this trend line here, and this trend line is a very important resistance and also very major support zone. So probably we might see one final push towards 17,700 before we again head lower. That's just 1.5 or 2% away from the current levels, and it's very much possible that we have one final push probably before we start heading lower and consolidate again, right? But I don't think we're going to anyways anytime test this levels of 15,000 again. Probably we may retest the levels of 15,000, but I don't think we're going to head to that lows in the future. But here is a major support zone. So for me, even if we come down after testing 70,700, I think we might face some support. We might see some support around 16,700, 800 levels. And that for me would be a very good opportunity, to again have fresh longs. So remember, in this video that we're going to look at today, keep this in mind that the markets is overextended and we might see a final push. So your risk management needs to be excellent. Otherwise, the positions that are going to take today in swing trades might end up in losses. Okay, so with that caution, I also want to show you one more view in Nifty, and this is probably the channel that I'm going to look forward to. So if you take this low here, and if you connect that, that's that swing low for me is going to be very crucial. So if you see, we've had this resistance around the middle of the channel, and again we're taking support in the middle of the channel. So if we kind of come out of this channel, then probably we're heading towards the levels of 70,000, and then maybe one final push towards the level of 17,700 as I mentioned. But for me, that's one important zone, and the primary trend line that we saw here is this one, right? So this is also another major support zone in terms of a trend line. So keep these in mind. But for me, still the short-term outlook is definitely bullish. I have not seen any major selling pressure on weekly candles or on daily candles. Everything is just a sideways consolidation, so nothing to worry here right now in this, and as of today. So yeah, that's the Nifty outlook. A lot of people have been bearish on markets on Nifty, and they're saying that we might see a crash again. When you're trading, everyone can predict anything in the market. So keep those biases aside and take positions accordingly. And if you think that we are overextended, keep your position sizes in control, and you should just be okay in markets. Okay. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the 4 stocks for this week. So the first stock that we're going to take a look at today is going to be Mangalam Drugs. So today I'm not going to cover the fundamentals because I'm going to cover these stocks purely from a swing trade perspective. They can also be looked at from an investment perspective. So let's take a look at the first stock, which is Mangalam Drugs. Now before that, how did I find these stocks is something that you might question me right now. I'm going to cover all these towards the end. I'll cover the 4 stocks, and then I'll tell you the scanner, how I found these 4 stocks and which scanner did I find them. Okay, so let's take a look at Mangalam Drugs first. So as always, start with the weekly charts and see where the stock is in the trend right now. So we had this crazy move in Mangalam Drugs, and since the COVID lows, we went from 22 levels all the way to 168, 169 levels, 170 levels, and since then we've been consolidating, right? And we have this major support zone around these levels. So if you're investing, then probably that's a major support zone. But I'm not going to touch, talk about investing targets here or investing stop losses. But as usual, stick to weekly swing lows if you're investing, and that should be a stop loss for investing. Okay, now let's take a look at why this stock is in focus today. Now we had a strong move, from the zone, 28th of March. We reversed very strongly. We were forming lower highs, lower lows, and then we crossed this zone over here. If you see, we formed now a new high. We've crossed the previous swing high on weekly charts, and we had some strong green candles with strong green with strong volumes as well. So we had this sell-off here. Again, we saw a strong green candle, but the volumes weren't that much. But again, this week, we finally, after 3 weeks of sideways or dojis, we finally had a very strong green candle this week with increased volume. So this volume is the highest in the last 6 weeks. Now, switching to daily charts to find what would be my stop loss and what would be my targets. So for me, since that is a very major support zone there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my stop, just right around the zone. So around 139.85 is going to be my stop, or 139 could be my stop. And I'm going to enter at current market price, or you can also enter above 155, which is the recent swing high, which is the daily high on Friday. So enter around levels of 155 with a stop around 139. So that's around a 16 point stop, which is around 10%. And I'm going to look for targets, initial targets I'm going to look for is levels of 196 to 200, right? So that recent high is what I'm looking forward to, because we're already around that zone. So it makes sense that we look at the previous swing high, which is, levels of 190 to 200 levels. So to be exact, so 197 is the previous swing high. So my targets will be around 200. So 155 to 200 is around 45 point stop with a 16 point, a risk. So that's 1:3 risk reward that I'm looking for. So that's the first stock. And the reason is mentioned. So if you have any questions, do let me know. Now remember, fundamentally also the stock is very good. So you might want to consider it from an investing perspective as well. And from an investing perspective, I prefer adding trends. So that's how I do it. So that's the first stock. The second stock that I want to discuss today from a short-term perspective or swing trading perspective is Excel Industries. Again, it's a beautiful setup, fundamentally excellent company. So I'm going to say why for me this is a very strong, stock for a swing trading candidate at current level. So remember, this is also in weekly charts. If you see, this is also reversed in the week of 20th June. We reversed very strongly. We had this long wicks coming in, so that indicated demand. And then on the weekly charts, we saw this major move this week with a slight increase in volumes. Okay, so that all indicated demand, and we reversed very strongly from the primary trend line support. Now, if you go to daily charts, you will see that we're also forming higher highs on the daily chart. So we've crossed this previous higher high. We managed to kind of close above those. So we had a similar pattern also in Mangalam drugs. So again, we had this nice move from all the way down. We had this nice move, and now we are consolidating. Now this consolidation is very tight, indicating that the supply is completely absorbed, and we've had this nice close on Friday, which means buyers are stepping in, and there's strong demand right now at these levels. So for me, I would enter the stock above those levels of 1368, 1370. So that's going to be my entry above this Friday's high. And I'm going to keep my stop loss around 1245, right? So 1245 to 1370 is around 120, 125 point stop, which is again around 10%. And for me, my target is in this trade is going to be around levels of 1725, right? So 1725 to 1345. So yeah, that's around, if you take this position size, you can look here. So I'm not getting the numbers exactly. So yeah, 26% stop. So that's around 2.5% risk reward, or you can even look forward to 30% returns. Right now, remember, these two stocks that I'm discussing today will not give you a one-way move up. It's going to take some time, probably a couple of weeks to reach your swing targets. But they are excellent and they're setting up really well. So that's the second stock today I want to discuss. Heritage Foods, stop loss at 1245. You buy it above 1370, and I'm going to look for targets of around 1700, 750 levels. Okay, that's the second stock. Now remember, both these stocks have been consolidating for quite some time, right? So if you look, this stock is again back around that same levels of last year July. So it's almost a 1 year consolidation on the same range. Mangalam drugs also is in the same almost 2 year consolidation, right? So I'm looking for large consolidation bases, and that's a very, very important point here, because the more the base, the more the consolidation, the higher the returns. So there's a saying, the larger the base, the higher into space. So yeah, that's pretty much why I'm looking into these stocks, right? So volumes is also one important thing that I'm looking at. So that's the second stock. The third stock that we're going to look at today is Gokex, or so let's type it here, Gokaldas Exports. Now that's the third stock we're going to look at today. Now Gokex, again, if you look at from a long term, I've drawn the channels already and kept it so that we are much quicker in this video. So if you look at this long term chart here, Gokex has reversed from the primary trend line in the week of 11th July. So on the week of 11th July, we had a reversal, and then it followed through. In the next week, we had a strong green candle with strong volumes, and we had two dojis right now, right? So kind of with the upper week sell-off happened, then now we have a lower week. Now, if you go to the daily charts, you'll clearly see that after this crazy move up with strong volumes, we had a slight correction here, and now we've again had a strong green candle on Friday. Now that's very important for me because it has reversed from the trend line. It didn't go further, and the volumes also have been, it has reduced volumes also while correcting. So for me, overall, this stock looks fantastic again. From a risk reward perspective, this is the least risk of all the four stocks that I'm discussing today. So stop loss is going to be at 326 or 325. You're going to buy above current market price around 348 levels. So that's a pretty low risk setup for me. So that's going to be around 5 to 5.5% to 6% risk. And I'm going to look for targets of the recent swing highs, right? So the recent swing high, if you take a current market price, I'm going to look at targets of around 40% returns. So with a 6% stop loss, we're going to look at 40% returns. So that's almost 6 times the risk that we're looking at. 6 to 7 times the return. So that's the best setup for me in today's video. So if you ask me priority, if ask me to prioritize based on the risk, I always prioritize based on the risk. So the lower the risk, probably you might have a much higher reward. So Gokaldas Exports is the number one stock for me from today's discussion that we're going to have, that we're having. So that's Gokaldas. So targets of around 480 to 500 levels. And this is also a very good time to take an investing candidate bet as well. But if investing, keep a stop loss around 300 levels. That's still not very bad risk there, right? So from an investment perspective, definitely looks interesting. But I just want to give you a short update here. Just look at this long-term breakout, right? So we did attempt a long-term breakout in the month of May, but now we're consolidating. We had a nice reversal around the channel. And now if we break out again and head to all-time highs, this can head much higher. Remember, the results are excellent. So from a fundamental perspective, it's also a brilliant company to hold on to. But keep a stop and then take your trade. Okay, so that's the third stock. The final stock that we're going to discuss today is Heritage Foods. And this stock, kind of stopped me out recently. But I think now, so compared to all the four stocks, this is probably the last stock in the order. If you had to prioritize, it's the last stock for me because this stock is still below the 200 EMA. It still doesn't have bullish momentum compared to other stocks. So for me, this would be the last. But from investing candidate, this is the best setup from my perspective because it is available at a very low risk setup, and it's also consolidating around the trend line support. Now, if you look at this trend line here, we'll look at the monthly chart. So from this trend line, it's reversing. So from an investing candidate, this has the highest reward. But from a short-term swing candidate, this also might trend well, but the momentum is not there. So it might not immediately head higher towards, levels of 400, 450 levels. It might take its own sweet time. But for me, I'm looking at the current price. And here, if you see, we had this amazing volumes coming in. After this move up, we had a slight correction. It didn't break the previous swing low. So the swing low is still intact. And we had some crazy volumes coming in on the 29th of July. And the next day, again, we had some huge volumes. And again, we are seeing some huge volumes on green candles as well. So for me, this looks like an excellent setup, from a trading perspective. You might consider this trend line here, or you might just, consider also a horizontal base, something like that, right? So, but whatever it is, how would you buy this? You buy this above the Friday high, which is around 296 levels, and you keep a stop loss of around 270, right? So that's again a 26-point stop, again a 10% stop. Remember, swing trades, I mentioned in the last week's video as well. Try to find setups below 10% or around 10% stop. If you go beyond that, you might not get the right risk reward setups that you're looking for to it. Okay, so again, amazing volumes. So buy above 296 and stop at 270, 26-point stop. I'm going to look here for immediate risk reward of 350 levels, right? So if I consider that, that's around 60 points reward for 26 point, right? So that's around 1:2 risk reward. And if you are able to ride the trend, then you might get much higher returns in this, because remember, this is also a breakout from a long-term downtrend, right? So this probably might be the beginning of a long-term uptrend. So if you can ride the trend, well and good. But if you are looking for targets, then my target is 350. Okay. Remember, from an investing candidate, this looks excellent. Also remember, the numbers have been pretty good for all the four companies that I've discussed today, and I'm looking for really good rewards in these four setups that I discussed today, right? Now, how did I find these stocks? Now, that's a very important question. So if you're till here, you'll find this really interesting. What I do is I go to my scanner setup here, and I scanned all these stocks from this CCI daily crossing 100 and CCI daily crossing minus 100. So I ran through all the setups that I had here, almost close to 170 stocks, I think, that is scanned today, this Saturday, and video will be published on Sunday. So 170 stocks scan, and I choose 4 stocks to swing trades, and it takes a lot of time, right? So if you look here, for example, Heritage Food has come in the CCI daily crossing 100, which means it's turning bullish on the daily time frame. Then you had Mangalam, which also came in the same scanner, which means it's it's turning bullish, and also Mangalam CCI weekly also is crossing 100. So for me, that's a really good setup. Then you have Gokex, which is come in my reversal scanner. So I'm just going to do this. So if you see Gokex came here in the reversal scanner, right? So this is, I'm looking at a long-term trend from a weekly perspective. It is an uptrend, but I'm looking at a short-term trend like a daily time frame where it's reversing and heading higher again. So that's how I found that stock. And the last stock we discussed was Excel Indus, which came in my daily scanner. So that's how I scan every weekend. Even if you have a full-time job, you just have to spend probably a couple of hours, and you might get really good risk reward setups. And if you did like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like this video as well. I'll see you in another video. Until then, take care, stay safe, and trade safe. I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.